Hi guys, and welcome to another installment of Web3 Women. For those of you who've not tuned in before, every week the ladies of Gala decided it would be a very good idea to meet various females across our industry who are doing some really special things actually, and whether that's in technology or whether that's in art or indeed music. And these two ladies are doing something that I think is truly very, very exciting and innovative. But before we get on to what they're doing, let's figure out who we're talking to today. Did you want to introduce yourselves? I think that's probably better. Hazel, you go first.
Yeah, my name is Hazel Gale. I am, well, I'm a therapist, or I'm an ex-therapist actually, as of the last few weeks, because I've managed to let go of my practice to work on this. My history, my background is much more diverse than that. I'll go into that a little bit later. And I'm one of the co-creators of Betwixt.
Nice. Ellie?
Yeah, I am Ellie. I'm the other co-creator of Betwixt. I'm also a two-time founder in tech. I left the space in 2016 in order to study human resilience and mental health.
Amazing. And before you used the magic word, which was Betwixt, but before we dive into Betwixt specifically, why Web3? You've just talked about that you're two times founders, that you've given up your practice to do this. Why? What are you doing here? What made you want to jump into this new crazy but fun world?
Yeah, it's an interesting story because, you know, we were just going through the traditional motions of your normal startups. So we created Betwixt, we had a prototype, we tested it, we perfected the product, iterated on feedback. Eventually we got to over 6,000 beta testers. We were seeing really high engagement rates. And we said to ourselves, well, what's the next step? It's to talk to investors, it's to scale. So we did that, but those conversations, very early on, it became clear that we are going to have to lose control over the product, and we weren't really seeing eye to eye with investors that we were talking to. So at that time, we just started tinkering and looking at Web3, but very cautiously, very shyly. The interesting thing was that we were so excited about it. You know, the minute we started diving deeper into it, we just knew that this is our place and these are our people. And the decision to make a 360 turn and completely pivot the company to Web3 was a very, very easy one. We have not regretted it for one moment since then, even though we've never been busier.
Yeah,
Ellie, I love everything you've just said. It hits on so many notes for what Gala stands for as well, and that idea of, you know, control and being able to carve your own path and not have people tell you what to do just because it's in their interest versus what you're actually trying to achieve for your community. Which brings us very neatly onto, what is Betwixt? Give me the high level pitch. Like, if you were going to just contextualize it for someone that's never heard of it before, what does it do? What value does it bring to the Web3 and, you know, world and beyond?
Sure. So Betwixt is a choose your own adventure game that takes you on a journey of self-discovery. And as you go through that journey, you co-create the story, the world, and a piece of generative art which forms itself and evolves based on your choices in the game. So essentially, wow, what happens is that the more you get to know yourself, the more vibrant and complex and beautiful the NFT becomes.
Can I just say I've got a brilliant background for this today? Just going to throw it out there. But carry on. This is great. I love it.
You access Betwixt through an NFT, which unlocks an app on your phone, and it works both on Android and iOS. And once you're inside, you find yourself in this strange frozen world that responds to your thoughts and makes real what you feel. Your mission is to make your way out. But the only way to do this is to learn to see yourself clearly.
Wow,
So
I have so many questions. We need to do an AMA on this one. This is insane. And forgive me, just let me take a step back. So you've created this game based on, I'm guessing, all these years and years of experience. Why do we need this? What's your hope for the game, and what are you looking to achieve as a pair in this world? And that's my question one. And then my question two is, can you just dive into an NFT in this? Like, that's an unusual combination. So I'd love to just understand a bit more about how that works. So I don't know if Hazel, you want to take one question and then Ellie, you want to take the other one, but I am very curious right now.
I'll take the first question, which was actually, what was it? It was you. Sorry, I knew it at the time.
No, it's good. I was saying, like, the build
what
up
are you
to
trying to
the
achieve
Betwixt. So what are you trying to achieve? Yeah, like with all your background and your experience, what's the outcome you're looking for from your players and the community and that kind of stuff?
I mean, we started out with a very, very clear idea. We started this over 2 years ago, and it started in an extremely basic format. But what we wanted to do was test how to create a product that would help people improve their wellness, which put engagement first. The reason we wanted to do this is because there are loads of really actually very good, if you look through certain filters, very good products out there on the market that give great advice in beautiful looking apps, and in developer-led trials, people who use these products make big improvements. But in the wild, they don't get the same results because people don't stick with them. People simply don't stick with products that feel like a chore or feel shallow or whatever. And so even though these things out there have amazing promise, at the moment, they're just not sticky enough. And Ellie will tell you a little bit about the research she was doing, because this was her baby, her idea, but she saw this gap in the market. And we thought, how the hell are we going to make something that utilizes the mechanics of video games, which are obviously sticky? They are the most popular form of entertainment on the planet. Billions of people play from all different age ranges. So how can we take those mechanics and turn that stuff into something that will actually improve people's real life experience, not just their in-game experience? That's what we wanted to do. And so our vision for this is not just about our product, it's also about how we talk about mental health in general, how we talk about awareness and wellness, and how people go about creating solutions to those kinds of problems, because we think it has to be engagement first.
And I'm just a little bit of a provocation, because I love everything you've said, and I spend a lot of time in our community and obviously this space, and there's some trials and tribulations, I think, about being involved in a space that's evolving so rapidly and so new. And there is a little bit of tribalism in certain areas as well, which can definitely, we know all about trolling, right? So it definitely can take a toll. And, video games on occasion can actually isolate you, right? You and your screen versus actually empower you. So I think there's just some lovely things in here that I think are really, really exciting. When you mention NFT, I think there is a real perception in the market at the moment, rightly or wrongly, that puts an instant paywall or barrier into a game. What's your, and that's not a loaded question, because we're dealing with some of that stuff with Gala, and we've got our rhyme and reason for that we need to be much clearer and explaining to our community. What's your response to that? So does NFT need to be in here? What's its purpose? And are you trying to keep this accessible, or are you trying to do something a little bit different as a sort of to seed that game and that ecosystem?
Both. I mean, we don't know exactly what's going to happen on our future roadmap. Nobody does, right? But one of the things we want to be able to do with this is create what we're creating at the moment, which is an NFT project. If this goes as well as we believe it will go, and as well as it looks like it's going to go from what's happening in our community at the moment, we could potentially get to a point where we can offer the game part of the experience for free, which we would never be able to do if this was in the traditional startup model, if we were making a subscription product, which is what all the investors wanted us to do, because then you immediately got exactly the same paywall. So this is what our dream is, that we can then put the thing out there for free, and those who want to do the art side of it and want to do the NFT side of it can mint their NFT and make beautiful artwork as well. But then the actual helpful part can be free.
So I think that's part of the beauty of this space, that you can actually have the best of both worlds. You can be accessible and you can be exclusive as well. And we are really trying to see where the right balance lies in this. But our North Star is to share the magic of self-awareness with millions of people globally. And the thing about Web3 is that now business models that were previously impossible become possible. You can be free and you can be widely distributed, and millions of people can be using you, and you can also be sustainable.
Yeah, without making the customer the product, right? Which is so refreshing. You're not having to hide the fact that actually this is about you and your data. You're being upfront and honest, which I love. So talk to me, a couple of things. I'm conscious of time, as always. Just dive into me a bit more, if you will, about the art NFT, because I think that sounds just really exciting. And also the reselling mechanic. I know we spoke very briefly before we pressed, we sort of pressed go on the interview, and we didn't quite get to that. So that would be lovely to hear a little bit about too.
I'm going to make this super brief. When people, at the moment, the game is only going to be available for this run. The game is only going to be available for holders. So that you buy the NFT, that is your gateway into the game world of the in-between. And then everybody gets the dreams dropped at the same time. The reason we're doing this is because everyone then gets to go through the experience as a group, a cohort, which is really important. When we were testing this with, and all our initial versions of it, we were getting these amazing results, which is why we're still doing it. But we always knew there was one particular thing that was missing that we wanted to bring in, and we didn't know how. And that was interpersonal connection, social connection, potentially meaningful conversations with other people. And the Web3 community and Discord has presented the perfect solution to this. So what we're going to do, the NFT is, you start with a very simple looking NFT, almost like a blank canvas, but not quite. The first dream, which is the first chapter of the game, drops. Everyone gets to play it at the same time, or around about the same time, depending on their time zone, of course. A week later, the second one drops. A week after that, the third one drops. There are 11 chapters, so it's an 11-week group experience. And in the week's gap between dreams, we will be, of course, everyone will be having conversations in the Discord server, and it's going to be dedicated channels for holders. So they get to share their experience. On top of that, they get to use guided meditations that have been written based on the dreams, a snippet of psychoeducational information, which basically explains the psychology nuts and bolts behind the experience, what's actually going on, and then some additional journaling prompts as well. And
how many NFTs are you going to have? And how many people are going to get to do this?
The first drop is going to be small, 1,777. The reason we're doing that is we want
to put it in your diaries, people, because you're going to be competing with me for one of these things. So sorry, carry on, Hazel. 1,700 for the first one, yeah?
777. Keeping it small because we want the quality of experience to be good.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant.
When you play your game, you play your first chapter, at the end of the chapter, you get to then look at what's happened to your NFT. So you flip over, the app is like a card, and it flips over. And on the other side, you see now you evolve the next level of your NFT. Play the next game, you flip it over, you see it again. And at the end of it, you mint the final image as your NFT, but you also receive an animation that shows you the whole journey. So you have this visual representation of your experiences, the ups and the downs and everything you've been through along the way.
It's so lovely, because it's just like you said at the very beginning, like the experimentation, the different formats. So this is the one thing, or there's so many things, but it's one of the things about Web3 I love, is this idea of bringing new formats and content delivery and mechanisms to people. I just think it's so exciting, and I'm delighted that Gala gets to, you know, be a little bit close to you guys and be part of that journey with you. And we'll certainly be supporting. I think what would be very useful is to maybe have a longer AMA with our community as well. I think that would be really good. What's your, just from a sort of a Web3 perspective, what's your biggest takeaway so far? What's the biggest thing you've learned? And what's the biggest thing you would, or the sort of the most poignant thing you would say to somebody that's kind of looking in on the periphery of this space, thinking, I don't really understand it, but I kind of like to explore it. What would you say to them?
Have you got an answer for that, E?
I didn't quite get the question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, sure. So I was just saying, what's the big thing that you've learned since playing in this space? And what's something you would say to somebody that's kind of looking into this space, a bit intrigued by it, but not quite sure where to start? What would you say to them?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that this space is like this huge playground where we get to be children again, where you just have to hop in and get excited and explore and become curious and start trying your own thing. Like, look at what other children are doing, what other people are playing with, but do your own thing, like follow your own curiosity, because I think the technology is magic and we just are scratching the surface of it. And you know, there's so much scope for dreaming and experimenting and trying new things. And, you know, why not do that? Like, push the envelope, like, you know, really poke at the current boundaries and really see how far you can go. We are, you know, that's what we're excited about. The possibilities. Like, we haven't seen anything like this in Web2. It feels like in some ways that we're living in the future and it's coming really fast. And in other ways, it feels like we are back to the first days of the internet, where you felt like you're online and you're going spaces and you're exploring different places. And there was this charge in the air, you know, before all the centralization happened, and you don't know what's coming next, and that's magic.
I love it, Ellie. I love
magic.
it. I'm smiling because I love everything you're saying. And then Hazel, sort of last comment to you. You guys are doing something that is profoundly exciting. Where do you go for your knowledge? For, you know, what things do you listen to? What groups are you part of? Do you spend most of the time in your community, or are there other places you go in search of inspiration? Where would you recommend hanging out to find out a bit more about some of the things that you and Ellie are doing specifically, or, you know, sort of beyond that, in this wonderful creative playground that we found ourselves in?
Yeah, we spend the majority of our time consciously building the community in a very deliberate and thoughtful way, and also building the experience, because we think of ourselves first and foremost as experience architects, rather than just creators of an NFT that have to tack on utility to that NFT. But we are thinking about what's the kind of experience we want to create, what are the things we want people to feel, and how to do that. And we love talking to our community, spending time there, being there. We are members of some closed women-based groups on Discord, which are very, very useful. But what we hear from a lot of our members in the community is that they're trying to consciously scale back the number of Discords and communities they're part of, and think about what are the communities I resonate with, and spend more quality time there. So focusing on quality rather than quantity. Yeah, the other thing is, you know, we we just take our time to get to know the communities that we are part of, and we don't think there's any rush. We are not coming with the attitude of we are missing out. We don't think we're missing out on anything.
I'm laughing because you're talking to somebody who's COO of a company that runs at 1,000 miles a minute. So, but I love the sentiment around, we're not in a rush. Let's do this right. Let's build the community. Yeah. Let's focus on the areas we're interested in. I'm conscious we're into our last minute or so. Hazel, did you have anything to add to that? I mean, I'm smiling. I'm so excited for you guys and what you're building. Anything you wanted to sort of chip in?
Yeah, I wanted to just say a little bit about the people in the Web3 space as we have experienced it. So my message to anybody thinking about getting into the area would be that in the most brilliant way possible, you have to change what you consider a consumer, user, player, whatever it is you'd call the person using your thing. Because in, the traditional perspective is a little bit that you've got this sort of, it's almost that you feel a little bit like people see their users as a bunch of sort of lemmings or sort of passive people who are just going to consume the thing that they have been given. Whereas that's not how it works in Web3 at all. Everybody's extremely active and engaged, and they never cease to amaze us. Our community, we run mini self-awareness games and creativity games in our Discord. And we started with really simple questions because we were like, we don't want to overload people. We don't want to make it too hard for them to answer. Nothing has been too hard for them to answer. We're currently running a short story game where they get the first sentence of a random short story, something like Mr. P was having a terrible day or something like really, really random like that. And we were like, let's just see if they can do something with this.
Let's see what happens.
Just the creativity we are seeing. The stories are brilliant. One of them I was genuinely annoyed it finished. I was like, but what happened next? So yeah, the thing is, I think that's the thing, is to just completely flip the idea of the user into participant, owner, creator. That's who you have in your community. That's who you're making something for. And as long as you see them that way, there's just no limit to what you can end up making.
I'm not going to say anything else. That is a mic drop moment of of an ending. That one I love. Again, how annoying. It'd be really good if I disagreed with something you said in this interview, but sadly I haven't. And I just want to wish you guys the absolute best of luck. It doesn't sound like you need luck, but I think when we've got people bringing something into the community that's going to, I think, be as fun as well as valuable as this, and approaching it in a way that I completely and utterly agree is the right way to do it, because it's different and it's better. I think that is just incredibly exciting, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you again soon. And guys, if you haven't jumped into Betwixt's Discord, we'll make sure we get the links and stuff put in the comments for you, so you can just go and find them and join in, and maybe see if you can create a better story than the one we've just heard about to annoy Hazel. That would be fun. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.